we have one more person coming, and she's almost here. I think she's trying to get in the building. But so my background, I'm from Texas originally. I went to the University of Texas, studied aerospace engineering. Went and was a high school teacher for a couple of years, and then wanted to get back into engineering. I um, was in this area, so I moved to Huntsville. Looked for an engineering job, which is what I wanted to do. Wasn't looking for an operations job. Kind of fell into this job and have never looked back. Operations is, as Penny said, it is a cool environment. Every day we're getting to support hundreds of experiments, getting to see that, getting to even just watch, even on the slow orbit 3 shifts, what we call them, the swing shift, the ones that happen in the afternoon while the crew's asleep. You're just getting to look at downlinks of Earth from space while you're sitting there monitoring science experiment after science experiment. And then, honestly, things go wrong, and you get to troubleshoot it and problem solve while doing your job, and it's kind of a giant puzzle. And you're by fixing something, you get to actually make science continue to happen, which again is the goal, and that feels good. We're not the scientists, we're not doing that research, but they're all over the world doing all this, and they can't do it without us. And it's really rewarding. I've been here for just around 9 years now, and have no intention of going anywhere anytime soon.
Wow, my background. So, as you can tell with the gray hair, I've been around a little bit longer. And I remember the Apollo program, and I was about 7 years old. So I was about, I could see it from that time frame. So, if that wasn't impressive enough, I don't know what was. But I saw the evolution of NASA for many years. I wound up living in Houston, growing up in Houston. My degree is mechanical engineering from the University of Houston. And at that time, I was actually thinking of probably going into the energy industry, oil and gas. But the energy industry was really on hard times at that point. The barrel of crude oil, I think, was going at $5 a barrel, which, I mean, is kind of incredible to think about nowadays, but it was literally at that time. But then there was this other thing going on over on the other side of town, this space center, Johnson Space Center. I said, wait a minute, looks kind of cool too, and looked into that. Wound up getting hired and working on the space station program. Have been with it now for over 35 years. And have now involved and came up here to Huntsville. I kind of see payload operations as the business end of the space station. It literally is. And so I would say if you wanted to get into this industry, yes, definitely a STEM degree is a good thing. There are a few other areas where you could still pursue, but generally I would say a STEM degree is probably the way to do it. Whether that's space station or not, this space station or not is another question, but it's pretty clear that space operations is going to continue on, and there's definitely a future. Maybe not necessarily in Huntsville, might have to move. I've done that, but it's certainly do, and so is Kellen. So it's doable, it's achievable, but there's also a big future also for Huntsville. So either way, I think it's a good area to get into.
And the one reminder, and it's been mentioned several times, but I always thought of NASA because that's where the astronauts were. And it wasn't until I got older that I understood about all these other commercial companies that work together in support of NASA. So when you start looking for jobs, don't just narrow in on NASA. Look at all the companies that support them. Axiom, Boeing, Vast. Around here, it's Teledyne Brown, it's Jacobs Engineering. I started as a contractor before I got a job specifically with NASA. So don't narrow your search. Widen it out and look at all the companies in the area. Huntsville's full of government contracting companies, and they will get your foot in the door with they still work out at Marshall. We work hand in hand with them. It's just one team. It doesn't matter who signs your paychecks. You're all working for the same goal, and that's supporting space. Any other questions? We still have time before your event. Okay, one more. I know all these softball questions we're getting today. Um, I would have to think on that.
Yeah, probably the same ones, but more. In fact, we would probably have, I think we would be probably further developed into going to the moon, maybe being on the moon at this point. So you, at some point, you can throw a lot of money at problems, but there still has to be the technology there that solves it. There's a certain point at which money is no longer the issue. The issue is now, do we have enough personnel? Do we have enough of the right technologies to get things? Sometimes you just throwing money at the problem doesn't really solve it. So, but I think we probably would be a little bit more evolved. We probably would be on the moon now. We wouldn't be talking about a lunar base. We'd be talking about how we're supporting the lunar base.
Very good point. Um, just to introduce, we had another one of our team members join. This is Lori Meggs. She's also a Paycom with me. So,
Yeah, sorry I'm late. I'm the team lead for the Paycoms, and there were a lot of fires to put out before I got here today. So, and then the rain, I'm slow. I had a knee replacement. So, but I'm glad we could all be here. I know Penny and Bob and Kellen have been great at answering all of your questions, and I'm excited about this hand pass. It's very seldom we get to see them from the other end.
keep hitting that button. Something I mentioned earlier was we, as flight controllers, don't normally get to hear ham passes. When we talk to the crew members, we're doing it, as we mentioned, through audio through this series of satellites. They have a ham radio just like is being used down here. We don't have insight to those communications. So the only way we can actually hear what's going on with this ham event is to be with you. In our jobs, we don't get to hear it. So in this instance, you have more access to the crew than we do. Well, thank you very much for all your questions. I hope you learned something about the space station. I hope you're all excited, and we're excited to watch this event.
All right, yeah, thank you guys so much. That was really awesome. We really enjoyed the chance to hear about that. A lot of cool stuff. We have a couple minutes until we're going to start the actual like pre-contact program. One housekeeping thing, because of where the radios are set up and where the microphone's going to be, we're going to have all the students asking questions here. So to make pictures and video easier, I'm going to ask everybody who's not asking a question to move to this side of the room, so that we can be able to see everybody's expressions and everything in pictures and everything better. If you're on the front row asking questions, stay put. We'll just pull you guys up in a little bit. But everybody else, go ahead and move that direction and fill in wherever you like. sure your phones are on off. Okay. Smile. Okay. All right. This is all set up or hooked up? All right. I'm going to start. All right. Hello, everyone. Are we ready for an ARISS contact? All right. One housekeeping thing before we get started is please make sure that your phones are on silent. Not be able to suddenly hear anything or have some interference because people's phones are going off. So please make sure those are on silent so we have no. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. Good morning. My name's Ruth Willett. All the campers know me by now, but introduce myself for folks on the live stream. I'm Ruth Willett, KM4LAO, Yoda Camp Assistant Director, and the Yoda host for this contact. I've had big help from my Assistant Director, Samantha Litch, KM4NSF, on this contact. Both so incredibly excited for this opportunity, and really big welcome to everyone who's here both in person and online. A big thank you especially to the Huntsville Amateur Radio Club for camp this year, the Alabama School of Cyber Technology and Engineering for this incredible location and this beautiful auditorium, Tim, NADEU, for providing his station, beautiful radios, and the Yagi antennas we're using for this contact, and all the camp volunteers for helping make this adventure run smoothly, and of course all of our amazing campers, many of whom are asking questions today. So before we dive into more specifics, to show some introduction videos from ARISS that they sent us that are shared before contacts. So first we want to show a video with some perspective from talking to the ISS here from Earth that we are hopefully going to do in a few minutes. So.
Hi, my name is Ruth.
And my name is Chris.
You must be pretty excited to talk directly
To the International Space Station.
When most people hear the word radio, they think of a music radio station. But it's so much more than that. Radio actually refers to the unseen energy that transmits all sorts of signals using electromagnetic waves. At first, people learned how to send signals like Morse code. And then they discovered that you can send so much more, like data, computer signals, and even TV.
Maybe you don't realize it, but you use radio every day. Maybe you watched the TV this morning, or you texted your friends, or maybe even you check social media like Twitter or Instagram.
Let's travel back to space for a minute. Since the beginning of the space age, humans have sent many spacecraft out into the universe. These range from the Hubble Space Telescope orbiting the Earth daily, and the Curiosity rover exploring Mars. We've even sent a long-distance messenger, the Voyager 1, who has traveled outside of our solar system.
Whether it's capturing a great picture of a far-off galaxy or conducting experiments on the space station, radio has to do with all of these. And today, you're going to be using ham radio. Now you might be wondering, what exactly is ham radio?
Amateur, or ham radio, is a service and a hobby where operators can talk with people around their neighborhoods, their cities, their country, and even around the world. Amateur radio operators require a radio license from the government. They're not that hard to get. I have one. My call sign is KM4LAO.
And mine is KD8YVJ. Our call signs are a way of identifying who we are to other operators. This lets everyone know that we have the proper license to using the radios.
As amateur radio operators, or hams as we are often called, we can talk with others about basically whatever we want, often science or some new radio gadget that we are interested in.
Let's focus back to the space station and your contact today. Many of the astronauts and cosmonauts aboard the space station are licensed ham radio operators. That's why your operators today can contact them. The people here, as well as the astronauts, are licensed to talk to each other, and you are allowed to talk over to their radio.
For our conversation today, we'll need an amateur radio station on the ground, either in this location or somewhere else around the world. We'll also need a radio in the space station.
NA1SS, NA1SS. 3.
You can hear the calls coming. This is November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra, the International Space Station, over.
On the space station, the radio transceiver is connected to an amateur radio antenna mounted on the outside. One of these antennas will be used today during our contact.
For our side of the contact, we need a good-sized antenna, a signal amplifier, something to make our signal stronger, and a rotator for turning our antenna. We have to keep our antenna pointed right at the International Space Station. And remember, it's moving across the sky and fast.
To aim the antenna properly, we need to track the path of the space station exactly. NASA uses complex systems to track the path of the space station and other orbiting objects.
The satellite tracking program we are using works out a complicated set of mathematics to provide the orbital location of the space station moment by moment as it moves through space. This information is sent into the computer that controls the antenna rotator, which moves the antenna to follow the space station. Maybe some of you have seen or worked with robotics. That's pretty cool stuff. And just like you can program a robot where to go, what to do, and how to get there, you can also program a computer to tell an antenna how to track the space station across the sky.
You know, it took a lot of planning to get this contact. Several weeks ago, the ARISS operations team had to figure out when the space station's orbit would pass over this location. Then, they had to talk with the planners at NASA's Johnson Space Center. The crew's time is pretty full, so they were able to find a time that could work for the crew members' schedules. Once they found times that would work both in space and here on the ground, the host organized this contact. And in just a few minutes, you'll be hearing and talking to the astronauts.
Well, it's almost time for your contact. It will be exciting, so good luck with it.
Yeah, so wasn't that fun? All right, so now several weeks ago, we had to submit a story on Yoda Camp that the astronauts have on the ISS along with their questions, like they know who we are and what to expect. So I wanted to read what we wrote so you have an idea of what they have with their questions. So Youth on the Air Yoda Summer Camp is a week-long event for young amateur radio operators ages 15 to 25 from North, Central, and South America. We also have several exchange campers as we build connections around the globe. 2026 is the 6th year of operations for Yoda Camp, and we are privileged to connect young people in amateur radio communications and STEM activities. Each year brings an amazing new crop of campers ready to build worldwide friendships and expand their ham radio knowledge. During this week-long camp in Huntsville, themed around space, our first themed Space Yoda Camp, campers have launched pico balloons, learned about Earth, or moonbounds, communicated through amateur radio satellites, operated on high-frequency bands from portable and permanent stations, experienced building electronic kits, learned and practiced how to log radio content in a variety of situations, visited the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, and explored Huntsville. We are privileged to be hosting our 5th ARISS Contact with new campers asking questions and learning how connected amateur radio is in life on the International Space Station. So through this contact, we hope to use our skills to have an amazing conversation with a current astronaut, understand their life and work on the ISS better, take skills they've learned to continue pursuing their passions after camp is completed. So next, it's time to see what these contacts look like from space. Here's another great ARISS video about Nicole Ayer's perspective on contacts she made while in flight.
NA1SS, this is N2XJ, over.
NA2XJ from NA1SS for scheduled contact.
Hey everyone, I'm NASA astronaut Nicole Ayers, and welcome aboard the International Space Station, where we're orbiting the Earth 16 times every single day. One of the most rewarding activities we get to do while on board is talk to schools and kids like you using the International Space Station's amateur radio system, or ISS ham radio. These contacts are planned by an organization called ARISS, a worldwide group of amateur radio experts and volunteers. ARISS is dedicated to introducing young people and students to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. You can check them out on the web at ariss.org. This is the equipment here in the Columbus laboratory, which consists of a radio. We've got the transceiver here, we've got a control panel, and we've also got the microphone. Some ham passes also allow for a video connection in addition to the audio. We talk to each other by establishing a radio link between the ISS and your school as we fly over your location. We won't have a lot of time to talk because we'll be cruising over the ground station at 17,500 miles an hour. That's 25 times the speed of sound. So we'll actually only have about 9 or 10 minutes of good radio contact from the horizon to the horizon. This is how a radio contact works. So about 5 minutes before the scheduled start time, I'll float over here into Columbus. I'll configure the radio so that I'm on the correct channel, and I may set up the video unit as well. And then just before the contact time that ARISS predicts for us, I'll begin calling the school using the standard amateur radio calling techniques. So as an example, if your school's call sign is K6DUE, I'll say Kilo 6 Delta Uniform Echo. This is November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra. Come check. At your school, the radio operator will be listening for my call, but that person may also transmit and try to call me as well. You'll probably have a much more powerful transmitter on the ground than we have up here on board, so I'm likely to hear you guys before you hear me.
November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra. November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra. This is Alpha Bravo 1 Oscar Charlie for a scheduled contact. Over.
Alpha Bravo 1 Oscar Charlie, November Alpha 1 SS, loud and clear. I'm excited to make this contact.
Once we establish the connection and we can hear each other, we can start the best part, talking to you and answering your questions.
What inspired you to become an astronaut, and what steps should a young ambitious actor take to become an astronaut? Over.
I always loved flying and I always loved space, so this seems like destiny. And for anyone out there, just get really smart on what you love, be a good human, be a good teammate, and you can get anywhere in life. Over.
After I've answered all the questions, we use the remaining time to say goodbye and end the connection.
Thank you to you all. Those were wonderful, creative, and curious questions. That was a blast. Have a great day.
After that, I'll spend a few minutes reconfiguring the radio back to voice repeater mode so hams on the Earth can use it to talk with one another. Then I'll go back to my day job, doing science on board the International Space Station. ARISS is a brilliant opportunity for us astronauts to talk to you students all around the world. It's really rewarding to hear the excitement in your voices when talking to somebody up here in space, and it's a true privilege for me to be able to inspire the new generation of scientists and engineers through amateur radio. So 73 from the International Space Station.
Currently traveling at 17,500 miles per hour on a northwest to southeast heading coming to pass over Huntsville. These contacts with the space station are made possible by ARISS, Amateur Radio on the International Space Station. ARISS is a consortium of ham radio volunteers from 9 that develop and operate the amateur radio station on the ISS. Some members of ARISS include the Amateur Radio Relay League, the Worldwide AMSAT National Amateur Satellite Corporation, Agency, ESA, European Space Agency, JAXA, Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, NASA, National Aeronautics and Space Administration, and Roscosmos, Russian Federal Space Agency. Our contact for today is with Chris Williams, KJ5GEW. He is an astronaut and physician who was selected as part of NASA's 2021 astronaut class. He launched November 27, 2025 for his first space flight and has been actively making ARISS contacts since. The New York City native will be operating NA-1SS on board the International Space Station. We are so excited to see how this turns out, but please remember it is an experiment. Campers, enjoy this incredible experience. I know Ruth and I will never forget asking questions at our first ARISS contacts with Youth on the Air. And remember, don't forget to say over. The ISS should be coming over in just a few minutes. So let's go ahead and start calling the ISS. Ready, Tom? Okay, should we wait? Okay. Please hold. Yeah, we talked too fast. Just a little bit.
doing my daily work. We made that connection. So thank you for writing up such a good summary. So I knew what you were doing.
You're welcome. 3 minutes still? Yeah. Give that a feel. I don't want to call them with it either, but they're not even up with their eyes yet. Give it 40 seconds. That works. Is the video back on yet? Maybe it'll come back on before we. All right, we ready? Yeah, can we go? I had to wait a minute. I hit the button on accident. November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra. This is Whiskey 4 Yankee. Calling for a scheduled contact. Over. November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra. This is Whiskey 4 Yankee. Calling for a scheduled contact. Over. November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra. This is Whiskey 4 Yankee. Calling for a scheduled contact. Over. November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra. This is Whiskey 4 Yankee. Calling for a scheduled contact. Over. Get the nerves out. November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra. This is Whiskey 4 Yankee. Calling for scheduled contact. Over. November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra. This is Whiskey 4 Yankee. Calling for scheduled contact. Over. November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra. This is Whiskey 4 Yankee. Calling for a scheduled contact. Over. November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra. This is Whiskey 4 Yankee. Calling for scheduled contact. Over. November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra. This is Whiskey 4 Yankee. Calling for scheduled contact. Over.
Whiskey 4 Yankee, this is November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra. We got you loud and clear. How many? Over.
NA1SS, this is Whiskey 4 Yankee. Are you ready for questions? Over.
NA1SS, International Space Station. Yes, we're looking forward to talking to you. Ready for questions. Over.
This is Jake, KI5JMD. Has technical knowledge, teamwork, or the ability to adapt surprised you as being the most valuable skill in space? Over.
Hi, Jake. Those are all extremely important skills, but I would say far and away teamwork is the best, is the most important or most valuable in space. They're all really important, but teamwork, over.
This is Sanvi KJ5PNU. What does your body feel like in space? Over.
Hi, Sanvi. Your body goes through a lot of changes in space, but the biggest thing is that you're floating. So it almost feels like you're kind of just almost like being in a swimming pool, but you feel weightless and can fly around, which is a lot of fun. Over.
This is Walker, KC3RAP. How much personal luggage are you allowed to bring to the ISS? Over.
Hi, Walker. We get a couple small bags. We get a bag that's about the size of maybe a very large toolbox, a shoebox, and then another bag that's about 1.5 kilograms, and that's kind of our personal stuff for being up here. Over.
This is David, KC1VVY. What does it feel like to be on a spacewalk? Over.
Hi, David. It's an incredible feeling. You feel like you are very small and insignificant out there in the universe, but you get such a wonderful and beautiful view of our Earth. It's a lot of work, though, so you're really focused on getting the job done while you're out there. Over.
This is Jacob, KC1VZM. What ways can I combine space and medicine to get involved in both? Over.
Jacob, there are a ton of ways you can do that. Actually, a lot of our astronauts are doctors, and a lot of the research that we do up here is on how our body changes and adapts to space. So there's a ton of different ways, and that's super interesting from a physiology perspective. So there's a lot of different ways. Over.
This is Alexia, KM6LGG. If you could run any experiment you wanted on the ISS, what would it be and why? Over.
Great and tough question, Alexia. I would say that there's a ton of different experiments that I'd be really interested in running and that we already are running up here. I'm a physicist by background, so we have a particle detector on the outside of our space station that detects particles that we normally couldn't detect because they get absorbed by our Earth's atmosphere. So I think being a part of that is really awesome. We also do a lot of really unique protein and drug discovery experiments up here, which I think will have a lot of benefits on Earth that I think is really an honor to be a part of. Over.
This is Lawrence, KR4BGL. What is the farthest or most memorable radio contact you have made on the ISS? Over.
Oh, tough question. We've talked to people on basically every single continent except for Antarctica. I've talked to people on, but I don't know if I can say which one is the most memorable. But anytime I get to talk to folks is really a pleasure. Over.
This is Noah, KF0UOJ. What's one part of being an astronaut that people might not expect? Over.
Well, I'll steal this answer from one of my colleagues who gives this a lot. Astronauts don't wear shoes in space, so I've been in my socks for the past 7 months without wearing shoes because you use your feet to kind of help stabilize you around station. It's a lot easier to do that in socks. Over.
This is Grant, KJ5JLX. Were you able to see the Orion spacecraft on its journey to or from the moon? Over.
We got pretty lucky, and just where we were in our orbit, we were actually able to see not the spacecraft itself, but the plume from the launch of the Artemis 2 rocket. We could see it as it, basically at just where it had passed through. And we were also coming right by where they re-entered, and we actually saw a little streak as their service module actually re-entered the atmosphere, and a little bit of a trail from where their capsule had passed. Over.
This is Violetta, KN2P. What is the first thing you will do after getting back to Earth? Over.
That's a great question. The first thing I'm really looking forward to when I get back to Earth is giving my kids a really big hug, and then also taking a nice hot shower. We don't have hot showers up here. Over.
This is Hannah, LU4ECN. Is there anything you will miss about life in microgravity once you're back on Earth? Over.
Yeah, Yana, a lot of things. The feeling of floating is just really awesome, and actually I sleep really well. I feel really comfortable when I sleep up here because you're just sort of resting and relaxing. I'm also just going to miss all the fun I have up here with my fellow astronauts. Over.
This is Jake, KI5JMD. How has seeing the Earth from space changed the way you think about communication, cooperation, and problem solving back on the ground? Over.
Hi, Jake. Well, one of the things that strikes you when you look out of the window from up here at the Earth is just how small the Earth is and how alone it is in this big blackness of space. And so it really reinforces how we're all in this together and how communication can really bring us together, but we also have to work together because we don't really have any other option. We're all together on this small one little planet. Over.
This is Sanvi, KJ5PNU. What personal item did you bring with you to remind you of your loved ones at home? Over.
I brought a couple items. I brought some stuffed animals from my kids, some pictures of my family, and my dad made some little pieces of calligraphy, little sayings that I have on the wall in my room, which is really nice and helps me think of my family when I look at them. Over.
This is Walker, KC3RAP. What kind of electrical outlets do you have? Over.
Great question. We actually have a lot of different electrical outlets. The main electrical source on our station is our solar panels, which gives us 120 volts DC power. So we have a lot of power converters that convert down to 28 volts, and also some inverters that give us sort of standard US power plugs. But we have lots of power converter boxes. Over.
This is David, KC1VVY. What do you think is the future of spaceflight after we touch down on the moon? Over.
Oh, that's a great question. I think the future of spaceflight's really exciting right now. I think we're going to the moon this time to stay, and I think we're gonna set up a permanent presence there. And I think that's going to be a stepping stone to Mars and further exploration of our solar system, which is going to be really incredible to see, and I'm really excited for. Over.
This is Jacob, KC1VZM. What was the most important step for you in becoming an astronaut? Over.
That's a tough question. I don't know if there's one most important step. I think a lot of things come together. A lot of hard work and a fair bit of luck as well to end up being an astronaut. I think the thing that ended up being the most important, though, in my background was a lot of the things that I did where you're working as part of a team, especially as part of a team in a tough environment. For me, one of the things that gave me a lot of those skills was being involved in scouting. Over.
This is Alexia, KM6LGG. Has going to space brought about any changes in your philosophy or the way you look at life? Over.
Great question. I think for me, I've always been pretty environmental minded, but it's made me really appreciate both protecting the environment on our Earth, but also my appreciation of the natural beauty of our planet, and really made me want to see and experience as much of the Earth as I can when I get back down to it. Over.
This is Lawrence, KR4BGL. Which part of the ISS requires the most maintenance and why? Over.
Great question. I'm not sure exactly which one requires the most maintenance, but I know we do a lot of maintenance on our water reclamation system, where we turn our liquid waste back into drinking water, and that's super important because it's really hard. Water weighs a lot, and so it's a lot of mass to send up to space, and so we recycle almost all of our water. So it's pretty important that we have that system working and working well, because it's also connected to our toilet, and if that doesn't work, our toilet doesn't work. Over.
This is Noah, KF0UOJ. What's your favorite activity to do on the space station? Over.
Hey Noah, I would say my favorite activity is probably looking out the window. I just never get tired of looking out at the Earth or looking out at the stars or the northern lights from the space station. Over.
This is Grant, KJ5JLX. Do you still primarily use lithium hydroxide canisters for carbon dioxide scrubbing? Over.
Hey Grant, great question. Actually, no. So we actually have what's called a swing bed system here, where we have a bed full of this kind of zeolite mineral that absorbs CO2, and we have one bed that's absorbing, and then another bed that we're actually heating up and baking the CO2 out of, and that gets we have some experiments that will try to reprocess that, or we vent that out into space, and then once the beds get full, we swap which one's absorbing and which one's baking out. Over.
This is Violetta, KN2P. How are crew and equipment on the International Space Station protected from solar radiation? Over.
Hey Violetta, great question. So yeah, we get hit by solar radiation and also radiation from what are called galactic cosmic rays, the super high energy particles that are coming even from outside our solar system. And so we have some shielding around, especially in our crew quarters where we sleep. We have a lot of, so there's the outer skin of the solar system, which has some aluminum and metal, which does a lot of shielding from us. But in our crew quarters, we also have sort of big blocks of sort of plastic built into the walls, which provides some shielding from some of the lighter particles that get sort of made in sort of these secondary interactions. Over.
This is Hannah Lima LU4ECN. What is the first thing that feels strange when you experience gravity again after being in space? Over.
All right.
21 out of 22.
Yeah.
So we can get that last answer from somebody who probably recorded it on the.
Oh, okay. Cool. Cool.
You want to tell them pictures and stuff?
Yes. All right. Thank you guys. That was awesome. You guys had as much fun as we did up here. We want to do a couple photos with some groups before we all spread and go to lunch. So let's get all the students up here around probably and do some, well, we could just do in the middle, I guess. Yeah. Get all students together with me and Samantha, and students and and then students, radio ops, and the guests. So thank you for everyone who is watching online. The live streams are going at 73 from Yoda Camp.